iconic corner.
So hello, welcome back to the Nurburgring. You'll see me smile a lot throughout the year, but I think my cheeks ache the most when I am here and the sun is shining, and that's exactly what we've got today. Now, as you can tell by the pretty good amount of wildlife and debris that has adhered itself to the front of this car, we have been doing some warm-up laps, and that, for the exact point, is to get some heat in these new Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2Rs. Now, the significance of today and the video today, it's the first time that I've taken this 992 GT3 on the Nurburgring. It's the first time I've done a Manthey exclusive track day, and it's the first time that Manthey have applied their own setup to this car. So we're going to give you a little walk and talk onto what Manthey have done to it, and then we're going to take you for a lap and try and convey, in the best words that we possibly can while driving fairly swift, how that translates to the tarmac. Right, so if you join me down here, visibly difficult to see, but effectively Manthey have developed a setup that is the maximum, I guess, effect that you can get from the stock suspension system. And so what they've done is adjusted full weight and balance, realignment, and then applied their settings to the camber. So there's just over 2 degrees of adjustment front and rear. I'm not entirely sure if it's 2.2 or 2.4, but it's around that, and the same at the rear. That's going to help effectively these Cup 2Rs really find the maximum bite on turn-in. Now, as I've said, as you can tell, I have been out. I'm not going to give it away too much yet, but the reason we've been out is that I have bled the pressure out of the tyres 3 times in order to find its maximum operating window when it's finally up to temperature, so that when we do go out, I don't have to spend 6 or 7 laps going out, coming in, bleeding on camera. We can just head straight out and get straight to it. So I'll save the onboard and the reaction for then. The other thing, which is unique to 992, was that there was much more fancy aero, and the rear wing is adjustable. So Manthey have effectively just dropped it here. It's a very simple thing. You have a hex key here, dropping it down to its maximum setting. It's not really a downforce wing as much as it is a stability wing, but this effectively will keep it more stable at higher speeds, a little bit of help under heavier braking, and then something you can't really see on the front axle are these sort of little aero cards that you can either retract or pull out. Manthey advised that the best settings for these for the Nurburgring is just halfway out, and that is the sort of extent of the adjustable aero on the 992 GT3. So with all of that said, we're going to head out and see, or at least now share with you, what all of those ingredients add up to and just how far you can push a standard suspension car on very sticky rubber on a very sticky day.
Okay, so here we go. I mean, just look at the caliber of the cars. Serious. This Manthey day is serious. So it's all Manthey clients, it's all GT cars, and obviously with it being a Manthey range day, there's a lot of MR, full fat, there's a full fat GT2 RS MR there. That's a really serious kit, and actually there's quite a few new GT3 RSs as well. Look, one parked just here. Yeah, very special day here at the ring today. And why it's cool for us is the car went into Manthey, this 992 GT3 went into Manthey a couple of days ago, and they've effectively done an aero optimization, no parts, just adjusting the factory parts, and they have done their geometry tweak in order to just optimize mostly front end actually for said Nurburgring. So this will be fun. Straight away, the nose on this car is remarkable. The front end on it is just daft, honestly. Thankfully we've got a dry day. I've had an outlap to put some temperature into these, I'm still getting used to this new feel of the new Manthey geometry, but crikey, the front end's pointy. You can definitely tell that something's going on here. Thank you, sir. And when we get some heat into these, Cup 2Rs no less, this is when things get really quite pointy. I mean, I'm already able to feel just how much you can lean on these tyres because of that tweak of the aero, just keeping stability pretty decent. Gonna bleed off the brake there to make sure you don't unsettle the physics of a 911. If you carry a little bit of weight on the nose in here, because it's slightly off camber, just allows that nose to bite in with that new Geo. Bumpiest part of the track here, let's see how this works out. Currently flat over the bumps. Doesn't seem to mind so far. Little settling brake there. You can, if you want to, clip that inside curb there, if your setup's okay for it, which seems like this is. Yep, we're starting to find some heat now. Oh, what a flipping car. And of course 992 has rear wheel steer, which does a phenomenal job of helping that nose rotate in the first place. But together with a set of Cup 2Rs on heat, for want of a better word, and this new revised Geo from Manthey, well, crikey, you can lean on in. That into track mode now. We got some heat into it. Yeah, remarkable thing. Whoop. Scrubbed a bit of speed there, but it's a really tricky corner, that, because it's really uphill. Scrub too much speed sometimes if you're not maintaining the flow a bit. This is possibly my favourite corner on the Nurburgring because it's not only positive camber, but you can tuck really deep there, run really wide here. It just feels so good. And then this is pretty flat through here. Little settle there. You can run out wide onto this bit of the curb there and then start the climb ultimately up towards the carousel. I'm going to balance there. Stability on the braking is phenomenal as well. I mean, there's a little bit of squirm here and there, but honestly, probably the most iconic corner on the European racing circuit is Carousel. It's definitely up there with Eau Rouge, not in terms of complexity, but certainly in terms of it being a famous stretch of tarmac. I actually love this section here. You can kind of keep a balanced throttle here and settle the car, and then you're hard onto the brakes for this tight right. And depending on the weather and the way your car's set up, you decide if you want to take these curbs like this or not. As we're approaching YouTube corner, so called because most of the incidents that you see captured on YouTube often happen here. For reasons like that. I mean, you can imagine in the wet there, if you use any curb, it could be a bad day at the office. And this is awesome part of the track. Just brake, lift, brake there. Car is literally airborne. This is tricky. It's like over a crest, relatively fast. And I actually think this part here is the most deceiving corner on the ring because it tightens up over a crest. And if you don't know the ring that well, it's to me one of those corners that I think can sort of catch you out, and certainly catch you out from a braking zone point of view. You can see why they developed the cars here. I mean, it is bumpy. It is bumpy here. Whew. And we're going to back off and just let things cool down a notch. So that's the first drive with the new Manthey setup, a fresh set of Cup 2Rs. I have done some previous warm-up laps just to settle the tyres. They were brand new. Honestly, it's got to be the greatest stretch of tarmac in the world, isn't it? It's absolutely unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable thing. Whew. Right, let's go have a chit chat, shall we? I think the other thing, I might speak about this on camera, but the other thing I would say is one of the great things about these days is the standard and the caliber of drivers is really high. So track etiquette is fantastic, average speed is brilliant, and the quality and the awareness of people faster than you and the people that you're faster than, everyone's very respectful of how it works out. It's a very enjoyable track experience.
Right then, it's just blow away. I think the biggest takeaway from this is what little differences can make big changes. So the hardware on this car has stayed exactly the same. I've driven this car on track a few times. The difference in front end turning from a subtle camber change, I know that might seem obvious, but it's massive. One of the things I picked up on when I left Manthey last night, when I picked this up, when I drove it down the straight here on the main road, it actually felt, from a road car point of view, maybe a little bit too sharp. Like I was steering it in a straight line with my fingertips because the inputs required were so small. And I thought, I wonder how that's going to translate on track. But speaking to Manthey, they're like, look, this is what you've asked for. This is the best setup for the Nurburgring. And sure enough, it requires a few corners. You just understand it intuitively how it feels, and the whole thing just hooks up. What you can do with this physics-wise, obviously we've got an extra sticky compound on here with the Michelin Cup 2R. But when that's up to temperature, combined with those revised tiny tweaks of the camber, if we really contextualize this on its maximum aero or downforce setting, it's got 150% more downforce than the previous generation GT3. So there is quite a lot more aero taking place here. In its standard form, with some Manthey adjustments, it feels much closer to a GT3 RS. Not the new one, sadly, but certainly the previous gen. Just unreal. So the last time I was here with the GT4 RS, it was also on Cup 2s, and I didn't show the before and after of a tyre, or I didn't share how many laps I'd done for them to reach this stage. So we've set the context up front that I did some laps. That was probably about 6 laps in order to come in and get that air bleed right. We've just filmed the onboard and I've done about 6 more laps. And this is the kind of tyre wear that you're getting on a Cup 2R. It's actually amazingly quite a hot day. So ambient temperature right now is around about 19 degrees-ish. The compound on these, you can think of it as almost like a qualifying tyre, in that your first sort of 7 laps, which to be fair, obviously 7 laps on the ring is the equivalent of like 20 laps at a normal track. But your first 7 laps here are otherworldly, like the amount of grip, particularly as I've touched on with the adjustments that Manthey have done with the camber, the extra lean that you can put on the nose. Of course, 911 physics, it really enjoys having more than average trail braking into corners, so you're keeping weight over the nose. But with the rear wheel steer, the new camber, these sticky tires, the extra weight and load that you can put on these, you can almost feel back through the steering wheel this wear happening. It's like physics is holding on by its claws, like round corners. It's an amazing feeling, but when you've got great temperatures like this, 12 laps at the ring, you're on your way out. So now it's not that these can't be used. I will run these on the rest of this track day, so you can do a full day on them, but they're no longer really up to the sort of R standard as they are for the first 5 or 7 laps. These now sit basically where a Cup 2 sits, which if you've ever driven a GT3 on a Cup 2 is a pretty good place to be. So yeah, morning session, absolutely rapid. Afternoon session, really rapid.